Welcome back, everyone, to our discussion on technological transformation in construction. I'm joined today by my co-host Roger and our guest Ryan Hale. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Matt. How you doing?
How are you, Matt?
In our last episode, we discussed identifying procedural pain points in your organization. Today, we'll get into prioritization. Now that you've identified far too many pain points to address them all at once, how are you going to go about deciding which is the most important? Ryan and Lithko prioritize and communicate prioritization to the organization with a technology roadmap. Ryan, could you first describe what a technology roadmap is and provide a high-level look at your process for building one?
Sure. So, Matt, Roger, thanks for having me. Yeah, a technology roadmap is just like what it sounds, right? It lays out a rough order of potential projects that we want to execute over the upcoming years, months, whatever it may be, because we believe that the things on that roadmap are going to make us more effective, more efficient, more scalable as we continue to grow. And along the way, we'll make the lives of our coworkers that are interacting with technology or data or reports, it will make their life easier because it makes their day-to-day job easier, right? When it comes to the roadmap, I think what you said is exactly right, which is you've got to identify pain points first, and then you're going to have a big, long list of those pain points. So the prioritization of those pain points becomes really, really important.
Yeah, I agree completely with that approach. I mean, who on your team or within the organization contributes to the technology roadmap?
A little bit of everyone, I'll say, right? I think this is a situation where it truly does take a village. At Lithko, any coworker can experience a pain point, and any coworker can pick up the phone and call their leadership or call me, and I'm happy to talk through pain points with anyone. Once we collect those pain points, then the roles of prioritization and socialization and buy-in and execution probably start to whittle down, certainly quite a bit. You can't prioritize a roadmap with 3,000 people. Literally, you'd spend more time doing it than you would executing a roadmap. So ultimately, it does come down to a group of leadership that needs to do it. And that leadership can be executive leadership. That leadership can be the folks that are running our business units. That leadership can come from within our project teams, but it's certainly not 3,000 people, right? So I think there's a little bit of a dance that the person that's responsible for the roadmap has to do. And part of their responsibility is bringing along the right individuals to help get that priority. Here's our list of pain points. Now, if we were to go solve that pain point, roughly what do we think would be the benefit? And I can't sit here in these four walls in Westchester and answer that question. I've got to get out and talk to a group of individuals to understand what the benefit would be if we solve that pain point. At the same time, my team and I have to be responsible for saying, if this is a technology insertion opportunity to solve this pain point, what technology is out there? How long would it take for us to adopt some of that technology or pilot a solution? How much is that going to cost, right? So there's this convergence of thoroughly understanding the pain points, which is going to bring more and more individuals in from the organization. There's a convergence of what could a solution look like, and ultimately those come together into this list, which quite frankly, some of the list will prioritize itself. There will be not as much benefit to be received for a large amount of effort, and those are items that you're probably not going to worry about prioritizing. But whatever's left in that bucket of pain points, you need a cross-functional leadership team to help you prioritize those. Folks from accounting, payroll, finance, folks from operations, folks from pre-construction, folks from the safety organization, folks from talent. And it's not just the 5 most senior leaders in your organization. It's true individuals that interact with this stuff every day. You've got to figure out what that guiding coalition looks like. And those are the individuals that should be prioritizing what's there left on that list. It's not me as the CIO saying, this is the most important one, boys, so this is what we're going to go do. it's that group investing in that prioritization. And now I'm facilitating that. I'm leading that because I'm ultimately responsible for the roadmap itself on the other end. But it's working with them to get them all to see, yes, that's more important than that, or that's more important than that. And then once you have that, then I think it is truly my responsibility to say, okay, that's the prioritization. Now, what does the solution really start to look like here? Let me really work with my team and other key individuals in the organization to scope this, to put it on a timeline, to put it on a no kidding kind of a Gantt chart, if you would, right? To really build this out and to think about how we resource it. That's where the roadmap really starts to come from. At the end of the day, the roadmap just falls out of all this days and weeks and months of work. The roadmap is just a pretty document then that falls out of it.
Sure. I think it's interesting how you talk about the technology roadmap being a list of pain points, essentially, right? And then from those pain points, you think about what would it look like to solve them. So I'm interested, once you get to that point where you're talking about the solutions, how long of a solution is acceptable for something to remain on the roadmap? Are you looking out long term, or are these usually short term things that you're trying to knock off quickly?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I know this answer doesn't help, but it truly is one of those answers where depends is the right answer, right? I ultimately think that no matter how long the solution is, shouldn't dictate if it's on the roadmap or not. I get people ask me all the time, right, we keep this list of pain points, and they're like, well, that pain point has been in this list for 2 years, for 3 years, for 4 years. Why aren't you doing something about that? And my response is, to me, it doesn't matter how long something's in the list of pain points. It matters what the impact is going to be to the organization if we choose to put resources against it to solve it. And it matters how much that's going to yield on the other side of that. What's the effort? What's the impact? And what are we going to get from it? Pain point could sit there for 4 years. That's okay. That just means it's not as important as some of the other pain points that are there. So I don't look at the items on the roadmap. They all need to fit in this like 3-month chunk or this 6-month chunk, or we're not interested in it. All of that goes into the prioritization. And we as an organization may choose, look, we're going to do one initiative for the next 12 months because it is a big initiative with the biggest, big impact to our stakeholders, and it impacts a lot of stakeholders. That may be an option. At the same time, we may turn around and say, well, this year, because we just did one of those and the organization's kind of fatigued, we're going to dial it back and we're going to do a series of smaller items on our roadmap to solve smaller pain points, because we know we need to get to them. We know the ROI is there, but we don't want to burden the organization with another massive change. It is truly a dance, and it's not a one size fits all. Every organization has to answer those questions for themselves. Currently on our roadmap, we have one item on there that we've been working on now for over 12 months, and we still have 3 or 4 or 5 months to go on it. And at the same time, we have items on there that from the time we start them to the time we finish them, it's going to take us 3 months, and we're 2 months into that 3 months. So it's not a time thing. It's an importance thing.
Yeah, I think the ability to stay agile on those types of things is really important. And what happens, for example, let's take a real hypothetical here. Say a pandemic comes along and you have to address certain things. How do you work those types of things into your immediate roadmap if it has to be immediate?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. We had an item on our roadmap to help streamline the way we onboard individuals into Lithko. One, there's an efficiency piece there where we have a lot of paperwork that we push around. But two, there's a consistency of welcome to the Lithko family. There's consistency of messaging that we want to strike there, because we know that the first few hours that individuals spend with an organization helps put in their mind if this is going to be a place for them or not. So you want to wow every individual that comes in your door as much as you can. That is an important initiative. That is an initiative that before the past 3 months, we had out on our roadmap sometime in the 2021 timeframe. Not because it's not important, just because we had other initiatives that we felt at the time were more important. Well, lo and behold, this pandemic happens. And now there's a spotlight on how can we make processes as most efficient as possible. Starting with with how we onboard folks, because our administrative staffs are less than what they were 4 months ago, but the volume of guys that we're hiring has not let up. So there was an instant burning platform that said, we've got to do something about this now. And so we accelerated that on our roadmap. At the same time, we had a large initiative where we're working with you guys to put in place mobile time and quantity collection, which is a gateway to more digitalization of a lot of the tools that the guys use in the field. Well, we wanted that initiative to kind of be a slow and steady approach, where guys from my team were literally going and sitting in job trailers with every single project team that adopted that technology. We didn't want to screw it up. That's the way guys get paid. Screwing that up is the worst thing that could happen. That will shut an initiative down today if guys don't get paid for the hours they work and potentially leave Lithko because of that. That is what disaster looks like in my world. But because of the pandemic, obviously social distancing is a thing. Obviously travel is being restricted to a lot of places. So going and sitting in job trailers is not an option right now. So we had to go back to the drawing board and completely redefine our approach around this. Now, knock on some wood, it's worked really well. And matter of fact, it's working so well that we're going to be able to cut 4, 5, 6 months out of our schedule. But I would have never thought about doing that before this pandemic hit. So it truly does need to be an agile, flexible situation, like you mentioned, Roger. This roadmap is not something you create one time, you stick it up on the wall and you say, wow, look how pretty a roadmap is. This is something you're looking at every day. You're tweaking and moving around every day.
That's great.
Not to mention the fact that pain points are popping up every day. So constant reprioritization is part of the exercise.
Right, and constantly thinking about impacts, right? How do those pain points, what is the impact? And I'd be interested, Ryan, could you just unpack what you mean by impact a little bit? I'm sure there's a lot of contributing factors to what is impact that contributes to where things are on the roadmap.
Yeah, so first off, I would, whenever you prioritize, there's benefit or impact and there's effort, right? And the effort piece always comes down to resources and money. You already know that, so put that aside, right? The impact or benefit piece is really the most important piece of this whole thing. And maybe moreover, spending the time up front to truly understand what the pain point is and to truly understand what the impact could be is probably the most important piece of this. Far too often I talk to people in my network or peers, or I hear presentations or read papers that talks about the newest, coolest technology. And I mean, look, we all go into technology for a reason, right? Because it's cool, it's fun. Who doesn't like unboxing their new iPhone and checking out the new options that you get, or playing the newest, coolest video game, right? I mean, that's why people go into technology. The problem is a lot of that technology may or may not have a good pain point that you're actually trying to solve. It's just something cool. And people in the field, at least in our business and in Lithko's business, they just want to build buildings, and they want to do it safely, and they want to do it the most efficient manner so that they can get home to their family or their friends at the end of the night, right? And they don't necessarily care about the coolest technology gadget that just hit the market, unless it helps them get home to their family safely and efficiently so they don't have to work 16, 18 hours a day, right? So it's not about how cool the technology is. It's about literally what is the pain they're feeling. Now, if there's a cool technology to solve that, super duper, we should do that. If there's not, that's okay too. Let's just figure out what the pain is. Let's really spend some time to understand what the benefit is. Then let's find the solution that's attached to it. So the impact comes in a bunch of different ways, right? It comes in making them more effective, making them more efficient, having less paperwork to deal with, less handoffs to deal with, less phone calls to make, more accurate information so they can make better decisions. It can come in a whole series of fashions.
I think that's all incredible, insightful information that our audience can absolutely put to use. I thank you again for being here today on this particular session. Look forward to working with you on several more. But again, thank you for your time today. It's been great.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.